Most conversations don't fall apart because anyone says the wrong thing. They fall apart because they quietly become work. You felt it, those long pauses where no one knows who should speak next, the stories that keep looping without landing anywhere, that subtle pressure to be entertaining, clever, impressive. Most people believe being good at conversation means having better stories or sharper opinions, but people with real social elegance understand something different. Conversation isn't a stage, it's an exchange. It's less like a performance and more like a tennis match, and most people lose points without ever realizing they just hit the ball straight into the net. Today, we're breaking down 7 small, often invisible habits that separate social tension from quiet magnetism, and we'll start with the mistake almost everyone makes in the very first minute. Let's begin. Number 1, the support response versus the redirect. You've seen this countless times. Someone says, "I'm exhausted," and almost instantly, the response comes back, "Same. I barely slept last night." It sounds harmless, even friendly, sharing experiences, relating, building connection. But look closely at what just happened. The moment someone opens a door, the conversation is gently redirected back to someone else. The spotlight shifts before the first person has even stepped inside their own thought. Elegant people don't do this. They don't redirect. They support. They keep the attention on the other person for one more turn. Someone says, "I'm exhausted," and they respond with, "That sounds rough. Has it been a long week?" Or, "I'm sorry to hear that. What's been taking so much out of you?" Just one extra beat, one sincere follow-up, and you felt the difference, haven't you? When someone actually gives you space to finish your thought before sharing theirs, the entire conversation softens. You feel heard instead of handled. Number 2, the 2-second pause. You know the moment someone finishes speaking and the response comes instantly. No space, no breath, no silence. It feels energetic, engaged, polished, until you realize something uncomfortable. They weren't listening, they were waiting. Elegant people pause for a full 2 seconds before replying. 2 seconds doesn't sound like much, but watch what it does. First, it gives the other person room to continue if they want to, and often they do. Second, it signals calm confidence. Anyone who can let silence exist without rushing to fill it isn't operating from anxiety. And third, this is the part most people sense without naming. It makes the response feel intentional. A pause tells the other person, "I'm actually considering what you said." Number 3, the lighthouse gaze in group settings. Picture a group conversation, 5 or 6 people standing together. One person is telling a story, they're animated, engaging, holding the room. Most people's eyes stay locked on that speaker, maybe with the occasional glance toward whoever carries the most status in the group. 2 focal points, everyone else fades into the background. But then there's someone different. Someone who listens to the speaker, but gently lets their gaze travel. Brief, warm eye contact with the quiet person on the edge. A subtle acknowledgement of someone who hasn't spoken yet. Not in a way that pressures them, just enough to include them, like a lighthouse, slowly rotating, making sure no one disappears unnoticed. Elegant people do this instinctively. They don't just follow the main current of attention. They quietly widen it. And interestingly, the habit that makes people feel most seen is also the one most likely to be overlooked. We'll come back to that. If you enjoy topics like this, you'll love my new book, The Modern Woman's Guide to Everyday Elegance. The link is below. Number 4, the gentle disagreement. Most conflicts don't begin loudly. They begin with a single word. "But I see what you're saying." But that word quietly deletes everything that came before it. The other person doesn't hear balance, they hear correction. Now compare that to someone who says, "I understand your point, and I've also noticed," or "That's interesting." At the same time, I wonder if same disagreement, completely different experience, and allows 2 truths to exist at once. It doesn't force a winner and a loser. Elegant people understand this naturally. They know that, but shuts doors while and keeps them open. Number 5, the name anchor. Think about your recent conversations. How often did someone use your name? Probably twice, once at the beginning, once at the end. For most people, Names function like punctuation. Elegant people use them differently. They place your name gently in the middle of the conversation. And when they do, you feel it, a small internal click. Your attention sharpens. The exchange feels personal. That's the power of names, not overused, not forced, not delivered like a sales tactic, just occasionally, naturally, because intimacy isn't built through grand gestures, it's built through tiny moments of attention. Number 6, calm vocal regulation. Watch what happens when people get nervous or excited. Their voice rises, their speech speeds up, thoughts stack on top of each other. They sound rushed, breathless, slightly unsteady. Elegant people do the opposite. They slow their pace just a bit, lower their tone slightly, remain calm even when the room isn't. When the environment gets louder, they soften. When energy becomes frantic, they steady it, not dramatically, almost imperceptibly. And you feel it, because fast speech signals reaction, slow speech signals control. Most people speed up when they want to sound confident. Elegant people know confidence. Sounds unhurried. Number 7, the intentional exit. You've been there. A conversation needs to end, and someone says, well, I should probably go. I'll let you get back to it. Polite. Functional. And yet, something drops. That faint flatness, like the connection simply stopped. Elegant people end conversations the way they begin them, with care. I have to head out, but I'd love to hear how that project goes next week. I really enjoyed this. Let's continue the conversation soon. The message isn't I'm leaving, it's this mattered. And here's what most people miss. Endings shape memory more than beginnings. So here's a question worth sitting with. If the most elegant conversational habits are the ones you feel rather than hear, what does that say about the conversations you've been paying attention to? That quiet shift doesn't just change how others experience you, it changes how you experience everyone else, including yourself. What's a conversation habit you've noticed that most people completely miss? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you're seeing that others aren't. And if this resonated, like the video, subscribe for more decoded social intelligence, and explore the Amazon storefront for a few understated essentials that never need to announce themselves. As always, stay refined. Once you start noticing these subtle habits, something interesting happens. You stop obsessing over what to say next. You stop measuring yourself in real time, and instead, you begin to sense the rhythm of conversation. Elegant people aren't trying to win exchanges, they're regulating the emotional temperature of the room. That's where the next layer begins. Number 8, emotional mirroring without imitation. Most people misunderstand mirroring. They think it means copying body language, matching tone, echoing phrases, and when done poorly, it feels artificial, calculated, slightly uncomfortable. Elegant people mirror something much quieter. They mirror emotional weight. If someone speaks softly about something meaningful, they don't respond with high-energy optimism. They lower their own energy to match the moment. If someone is excited but controlled, they don't inflate it into chaos or dampen it with indifference. They meet it exactly where it is. This creates a sense of resonance. The other person feels understood without being analyzed, accepted without being managed. It's not mimicry, it's attunement. Number 9, selective self-disclosure. Most socially anxious people overshare. They think vulnerability creates connection, and it does, but only when it's paced. Elegant people reveal themselves in layers. They don't dump their life story into a casual conversation. They offer just enough personal detail to invite reciprocity. A small truth, a measured insight, a human moment, not a confession. Because intimacy isn't about intensity, it's about timing. The wrong depth at the wrong moment creates discomfort, not closeness. Elegant people sense when the container is strong enough to hold more, and when it isn't. Number 10, the unhurried reaction. Watch closely how people respond to unexpected information. Good news, bad news, awkward comments, social friction. Most people react immediately. They rush to fill the space with emotion, explanation, reassurance, defense. Elegant people take a fraction longer. Not cold, not detached, just composed. That pause communicates emotional stability. It says, I can hold this moment without collapsing into it, and that makes others feel safe, especially in uncertain situations. Number 11, permission-based advice. Nothing kills conversational elegance faster than unsolicited advice. Someone shares a struggle, and immediately the solutions arrive. Fixing, optimizing, correcting. Elegant people ask first, do you want advice, or do you just want to vent? Would it help to hear a perspective, or do you want me to listen? This single question changes everything. It restores agency. It shows respect. And when advice is given, it actually lands because it was invited. Number 12, comfort with not being the favorite. This is subtle but powerful. Elegant people aren't trying to be everyone's preferred person in the room. They don't compete for attention or approval. They allow others to bond without inserting themselves. They're comfortable being liked, but not central. Ironically, this makes them more magnetic, because nothing signals confidence like not needing to be chosen. Number 13, conversational containment. Every conversation has boundaries. Emotional, temporal, energetic. Elegant people respect them. They don't escalate a light interaction into something heavy. They don't prolong a moment that's naturally ending. They don't pry where curiosity hasn't been invited. They know when to deepen. They know when to release. That sensitivity makes interactions feel safe, balanced, and complete. Number 14, silent affirmation. Not every response needs words. A nod at the right moment, a soft smile, a grounded stillness while someone speaks. Elegant people understand that presence is often louder than commentary. They don't interrupt meaning with noise. They let moments breathe. At this point, something important becomes clear. Social elegance isn't about technique. It's about self-regulation. The more regulated you are internally, the less you need to control externally. You stop chasing validation. You stop fearing silence. You stop performing. And that's when conversations begin to feel effortless. Not because you're doing more, but because you're doing less better. People don't remember exact words. They remember how steady they felt around you. They remember ease, clarity, respect. And that's the real shift, because once you master this, conversation stops being something you manage and becomes something you inhabit. Once you internalize these habits, you start noticing something subtle but powerful. People begin to relax around you faster. Not because you're entertaining, not because you're impressive, but because you're predictably safe. And safety is the rarest social currency. Most people think charisma is energy. In reality, it's regulation. That's why elegant conversationalists don't dominate rooms. They stabilize them. Now we move into the deeper layers, the habits almost no one teaches because they can't be faked. Number 15, emotional pacing. Every conversation has a speed limit. Most people ignore it. They escalate too quickly. They jump ahead emotionally before trust has caught up. Elegant people pace emotion the way musicians pace tempo. They don't rush intensity. They let moments arrive when they're ready. If someone shares something lightly, they stay light. If someone goes deeper, they follow, but never force. This pacing creates comfort because people feel you're walking with them, not pulling them somewhere they didn't agree to go. Number 16, non-reactive listening. There's a difference between listening and reacting. Most people react. They nod excessively. They interrupt with agreement. They finish sentences to show understanding. Elegant people listen without needing to demonstrate it. They don't rush to prove empathy. They allow the other person's experience to stand on its own. This feels deeply respectful because nothing is more calming than being heard without being handled. Number 17, the absence of urgency. Urgency leaks. You can hear it in someone's voice. You can see it in their posture. You can feel it in their need to be liked, understood, validated. Elegant people remove urgency from conversation. They're not trying to get somewhere socially. They're not chasing outcomes. They don't need this interaction to go well, and because of that, it usually does. Number 18, clarity over cleverness. Clever people often confuse. Elegant people clarify. They don't pile on metaphors. They don't over-explain to sound intelligent. They say what they mean cleanly, calmly, and directly. Clarity creates trust, because when someone doesn't hide behind complexity, you sense integrity. Number 19, emotional ownership. Elegant people don't outsource their feelings. They don't say, "You made me feel awkward." They say, "I felt a little off in that moment." This subtle shift matters. It removes blame. It keeps the conversation grounded. People feel less defensive and more open. Number 20, knowing when not to respond. Not every statement requires an answer. Some things are meant to land, not be discussed. Elegant people don't reflexively respond to everything. They allow silence to carry meaning, and silence, when used intentionally, becomes powerful. At this stage, conversations stop feeling like exchanges of words. They become exchanges of states. Calm to calm, clarity to clarity, groundedness to groundedness. And something interesting happens. People begin to show you who they really are because they're no longer performing either. Number 21, the ability to stay neutral. Neutrality is misunderstood. People think it means indifference. It doesn't. It means emotional balance. Elegant people can hear opposing opinions without collapsing or attacking. They don't rush to align. They don't rush to disagree. They allow ideas to exist without needing to conquer them. This makes people feel safe to speak freely. Number 22, curiosity without extraction. Most curiosity is transactional. People ask questions to get something. Information, leverage, validation. Elegant curiosity is different. It's open-ended, non-invasive. They don't mind people for stories. They let stories arrive organically. This creates dignity. Number 23, subtle boundaries. Elegant people have boundaries, but they don't announce them. They don't overshare. They don't tolerate disrespect. They redirect gently. They disengage gracefully. Boundaries don't need speeches. They need consistency. Number 24, emotional consistency. People trust what's consistent. Elegant people don't fluctuate wildly based on mood or audience. They are largely the same, calm, measured, respectful. This predictability builds comfort because people don't feel like they're walking on social eggshells. Now here's the deeper truth most people never reach. Conversation mastery isn't about saying the right thing. It's about being the right nervous system. When your internal state is steady, your words don't need to work hard. Number 25, releasing the need to be understood. This is where elegance matures. Elegant people don't need everyone to get them. They express themselves clearly, and then they let go. They don't chase clarification. They don't correct perceptions obsessively. They trust that what's meant to land will land, and this creates authority. Number 26, allowing asymmetry. Not every conversation needs equal contribution. Sometimes you give more, sometimes you receive less. Elegant people don't keep score. They don't force balance in every interaction. They understand flow. Number 27, emotional hygiene. Elegant people don't use conversations to dump emotional residue. They process privately. They share selectively. This keeps interactions light, even when topics are serious. Number 28, presence over performance. They're not trying to impress. They're trying to be there. And presence is felt immediately. At this point, conversation stops being something you do. It becomes something you are. People feel it before they can name it. They leave interactions feeling calmer, clearer, more respected, and they may not know why, but they remember you